Now, if you want to fast track your credit, here's the way to do it. Hey everybody, it's me, AJ Golden, self-proclaimed money nerd and personal finance geek. And welcome to my channel, Personal Finance Made Easy. I created this channel to help you win with your money by making concepts such as budgeting, saving, and investing simple and easy. In today's video, I want to talk to you more about credit, and specifically how to improve your credit scores. By the end of this video, you'll have all of the tips you need in order to guarantee that your credit score will be better. And if you stick around to the very end, I've got a secret tip that'll guarantee you almost immediate improvement to your credit score. Wow. So make sure you stick around to the very end of the video. But before we get started, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos. Also, don't forget to hit that like button right below the video. It helps out the channel tremendously by telling YouTube to promote this video to other viewers. And finally, leave a comment down below. Let me know exactly what you thought about the video or any questions that you might have so that I can continue to improve my content. All right, without further ado, let's get into the video. See, in this previous video, I actually talked a little bit about your credit scores and your credit reports. And I showed you really the details of what's included in your credit report. And just as a recap, your credit report lists out all of the details of your credit history. But your credit scores, on the other hand, are mathematical formulas that take all of the data in your credit report and generate a numerical score between 300 and 850. Now, there are two main scoring models that are usually used by creditors: your FICO score and your Vantage score. These scores help lenders to be able to evaluate your credit worthiness quicker and easier than having to review all of the details in the credit report itself. Now, if you want to get an overview of your credit scores, take a look again at this video. But today, I want to talk about the 5 areas that are used to determine your credit score and how much they impact whether or not your score is favorable or not. Now, the main area that impacts your credit score the most is your payment history. Now, your payment history is made up of all of the different types of accounts that you have and how well you've been paying those accounts throughout the course of you having that credit account. So it includes things such as collections if you have them, bankruptcies, foreclosures, lawsuits, any types of garnishments you might have, or liens or judgments on your account. This is all included in your payment history, and it makes up 35% of your credit score. So it goes without saying that your credit score is based heavily on your payment history. Therefore, in order to have a really good credit score, you have to make sure that your payment history is stellar. Now, your payment history usually tracks your payment details in increments of 30 days or a month. And if you're behind or fall behind on any of your payments, that will be reflected by 30 days late, 60 days late, or 90 days late, so on and so forth. Any of those late payments that are reflected on your credit report get calculated into your credit score, and as I said before, it impacts your score by 35%. So you really want to get this one nailed down. And the best way, an easy way for you to make sure that your payment history is always on time and always reflects 100% paid is by putting your payments on autopilot. That's right. All you got to do is automate those payments. So basically what you want to do is just go into your banking app and either set your bill pay to pay those payments on time before the due date each and every month. And then it's just your responsibility to make sure that you have the appropriate amount of pay in those accounts. The other way you can do it is you can go directly to your credit accounts or loan accounts, whatever types of credit you have, and set it up directly with those lenders. And that way, each and every month before the bill is due, my payment, my credit card payment, is made automatically on my behalf. Now, I always recommend that you pay your credit cards in full each and every month you shouldn't be maintaining a balance on those credit cards. This isn't because of your payment history, because your payment history only requires you to make the minimum payment each time on time. I recommend that you pay your balances off so that you're not paying that high interest on those credit cards each and every month. Now that's specific to credit cards, but let's say you have a loan account like your car payment. You can do the exact same thing. All you would need to do is set up an automatic draft from your bank account to pay your car payment on time each and every month automatically. That will make sure that your payment history always is in good standing, and that impacts your credit score a lot. But let's say you haven't maintained a good credit history. How do I improve my credit score if I haven't been so diligent about paying my bills on time? The first thing you want to do is get caught up. Make sure that you're starting to pay those things on time, just like I mentioned a moment ago, because your credit scores do take into account the new reportings that your creditors are sending to each of the credit bureaus. So first thing you do if you've been behind is let's get caught up. Let's go ahead and start paying on time from this point going forward. But if you do have some collections that are on your account, or you've had a foreclosure or those types of things, you've got to remember that those things do stay on your credit for 7 to 10 years. Oh no! Now if you have collections, you can work with those collection agencies to settle those amounts and potentially take those credit collections off of your credit report. What? Now you've got to be really careful about how you do this, because those collection agencies can be brutal. And before I get into that, let me explain what collection agencies are. So the collection agencies are agencies that have purchased your bad debt from your original creditors. Let's say again, you have that credit card that you didn't pay off, or you purchased something from a store account that you never paid off. And what happens is that store account, after a period of time, will write off that amount as a bad debt that they cannot collect. Now, before they do that, they will try to collect it from you for a period of time. But after a while, if they aren't able to collect that money from you, then they'll write it off as a bad debt. And the collection agencies buy those bad debts from those creditors for pennies on the dollar. What? So they usually purchase, let's say you had a $100 debt that you didn't pay off. They could purchase that $100 debt for, let's say, $10. And then anything that they are able to collect from you would be profit for that collection agency. Now, the good thing about this, if you can say it's a good thing, is that because they have purchased your debt for pennies on the dollar, generally you can make up those collections by settling with the collection agency, because they're happy just to be able to get anything for that bad debt. So let's say you wanted to settle that $100 collection that has been taken over by that collection agency. They're going to want to try to get the full $100 from you, but they know that anything is better than nothing. So you can probably go to those credit collection agencies and settle that debt for, let's say, $50 instead of the $100. Now, if you're able to negotiate that and settle that debt for $50, make sure that you get that agreement in writing with the collection agency before you make any payments. And you must make sure that once you get that in writing from the collection agency, that they will in turn report to the credit bureau that your account has been paid in full. That's very important for you to do before you make that payment to the credit agency. Ensure that you're making that payment without giving them any type of access to your bank account or any other type of an account, because they will try to pull money from that account if you give them open access to that account. So I would suggest that once you get that in writing with the collection agency, that you send them a check or send them that payment in a way that isn't tied back to your bank accounts. So that's the number one point, is your payment history you need to make sure remains stellar. The next area is the amount you owe across all of your accounts. Now this accounts for 30% of your credit score. Now the key to this area is ensuring that something that's called your credit utilization remains low. And let me explain what credit utilization means. It is basically the amount of credit you use based upon the total amount of credit that's at your disposal. Now let's say you have a credit card that has a $1,000 limit. If you spend $500 on that credit card, your credit utilization is a calculation of the amount that you spent or the balance of the credit card divided into the total limit that the credit card has. So in this case, with the $1,000 credit card, you've spent $500, which means it has a $500 balance. When you divide 500 into 1,000, you get 50%. So your credit utilization in that example is 50%. In order for you to keep your credit score high and make sure that you have the best credit score possible, you want to make sure that your credit utilization is less than 30% of your total credit limit. So in that $1,000 example, you don't want to spend any more than about $300. And ideally, to get the best score, you want to make sure that your credit utilization stays below 10%. So in that $1,000 example, you want to make sure that your balance is no higher than $100. That gets you the best credit scores. Now, the way that you can improve your credit utilization is two ways, basically. You can basically pay down that balance before the creditor reports the balance to the agency. So before the due date, you can actually pay down that balance so that it stays below that 30% or ideally the 10%. The other way, and I hesitate to share this with you, is to increase your credit limit, either by calling up the credit card company and asking for a bigger limit or by opening another credit card. Now, you have to be responsible with money in order to do that. I would not ever suggest that you open up a new credit card if you aren't being responsible with your credit utilization. But the way that this works is the amount that you have spent isn't as important as the percentage of utilization that you have. So let's say in that same example that you have a $500 balance, but instead of having that $500 balance on one credit card that has a $1,000 limit, let's say that you have a $500 balance on two credit cards that have a $5,000 combined limit. So if you have that $500 balance, now you are at that 10% utilization. So the key here is making sure that you're staying below that 10% utilization, or 30% if you have to use a little bit more credit. So again, if you want to improve your credit score, let's start paying down those balances, or you can open a new line of credit and make sure that you have a high enough limit on that new line of credit that will allow your balances to be below the 10% utilization. But I recommend that you're paying off your balances in full each and every month, because that way you're not getting that interest payment tacked on top of your credit card balance, especially with credit cards. The next factor that you need to make sure that you're watching in order to improve or make sure that you have the best credit score possible is the length of your credit history. So creditors and lenders want to make sure that you've been responsible with using your credit for a long period of time. So they reward that behavior if you've had a long credit history. So this area accounts for 15% of your total credit score. So my recommendation here is that if you want to improve your credit score, you want to make sure that you have a long credit history. Now, if you are just starting out and you don't have credit, or if you've had credit before, but it hasn't been good credit, you can still take advantage of that long credit history as long as you're cleaning up that credit, as we spoke about in that first point. The other key here is that if you do have an older credit account, make sure that you don't cancel that card when you pay it off, because that helps to make sure that you have a longer credit history. Now, if you're starting out and you don't have credit yet, my suggestion here is to make sure that you start to build credit. Go ahead and get yourself some type of credit account now so that you can begin to build that credit history. And just make sure that you're responsible with how you're using that credit. Again, I've got another tip for you at the end of this video that's going to help you to expedite this if you don't have that long credit history at this point. Okay, now the fourth point is new credit. Now with this area of your credit score, the credit agencies or credit calculations are looking to see how much new credit you're opening. If you're opening a lot of new credit accounts at one time, that can seem very risky to lenders. And so the scores take that into account. If you have a lot of new credit or a lot of inquiries on your credit report, then the credit score calculations will see that negatively. The good thing is that this area only accounts for 10% of your overall credit score. But you still want to be careful about requesting new credit accounts all in one period of time, unless you really and truly need new credit. Now, the good thing is that inquiries only remain on your credit report for 2 years. So if you're doing something like searching for a new house, you want to get a new mortgage loan, or you're refinancing, or you're buying a new car, things like that where you're shopping around, the good thing about that is that the credit scoring algorithm will only see that as one inquiry as long as you're doing it within a short period of time, such as 30 days. So make sure that you're doing all of your shopping around, and then only applying when you're truly ready to make that purchase so that you can minimize the time frame in between those applications. Now, the final area of your credit score, which accounts for the last 10%, are the types of credit that you have. So lenders like to see a good mix of credit accounts. That seems good for them because it shows that you've been able to be responsible with things such as revolving credit or installment credit. So revolving credit are things such as a credit card because there's a different balance every period. Whereas installment credit are things such as loans, like a mortgage loan or a car loan, where you have the exact same balance each and every payment cycle. As long as you have a good mix of credit accounts, then lenders will see that favorably and your score will reflect that favorably as well. So it's important to have a mix of different types of credit accounts if you need that type of credit. I wouldn't suggest that you just go out and get all sorts of different credit accounts, but if you are looking to purchase a car or you're looking to save up and buy a house, then having those types of accounts or a different variety of accounts will help you and help to improve your credit score as long as you handle them responsibly. Now, it's important to note that your credit score does not take into account anything that's not reported in your credit report. Things such as race, color, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, all of those things, it does not look at those things. It doesn't take into account your salary, although a lender may look at that as part of your overall application process. I just wanted to say that so that you realize that those things are not part of your credit score. Hey everybody, for those of you who stuck around, this is the secret tip that I wanted to share with you, and I spoke about at the beginning of this video. Now, if you want to fast track your credit, here's the way to do it. Basically, it's called piggybacking. Now, if you know anyone who has a great credit score, preferably they have a perfect credit score, and it's someone that you trust that doesn't mind adding you as an authorized user on one of their accounts. When they add you and that gets reported to the credit bureaus, it basically transfers their credit limits and a bit of their credit history to your credit report. What? Now, we did this for our daughters. My wife and I did this for our daughters. We took an account that we have a credit card basically that has a $30,000 limit. And we added them as authorized users the moment they turned 18. Actually, I think we added our youngest daughter when she was still 17. And now they're both in their 20s. So now they have excellent credit. And they basically had excellent credit at the age of 17 and 18. Wow. Because they had a credit line that was on their credit report that showed a $30,000 credit limit. And that boosts their credit score pretty much instantly. As soon as the credit card company reports that line item to the credit bureaus. So if you have someone that you trust, they have to be someone that you really trust, because if their credit goes down and they are not responsible with credit, then that can negatively impact your credit score as well. So this has to be some family member or some really close friend who you know is very responsible with their credit and they don't mind adding you as an authorized user. Now, here's the key point. You really only have to add them as an authorized user. We gave cards to our daughters, but we told them they had to use that only in case of an emergency. So they could also misuse your credit by running up that credit line, but you don't even have to give them a card. You can just add them onto the credit line, or they can add you onto the credit line. They don't even have to give you a card. And then as they're using their credit, hopefully staying below that 10% credit utilization, all of the things we talked about earlier, it continues to help improve your credit as well. So I hope you like that tip. I hope you have a way that you can implement it in your life and hopefully boost your credit scores as well. We've done it with our daughters and it has worked tremendously. They have perfect credit scores, and also they have a foundation for being able to do better things in the future. Hope you like that tip. Well, that's it for today. If you like this video and you want to win with your finances, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any future videos. Also, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment below. Until next time, you keep living on purpose, pursue your passion, and get the gold.